Welcome back to the Bible Study Girl podcast. This is Sarita, but you probably know me as Bible Study Girl. And with that really high falsetto introduction was none other than the executive producer of this podcast, Bible Study Brother.
What's good, people? It is I, Bible Study Brother, also known as Icarus Gray, over at Gray Area Anime, and this is the most wonderful podcast of your day.
All right, folks, pull up a seat. First of all, let me say my voice is back, baby. I'm back in full voice, full energy, fully recovered from the COVID. So I'm excited to be able to talk and chitter chat with you guys today. If you've been listening here lately, you know that we've been recapping the previous blogs from 2019. So it's a flashback to the past for us. And today's blog that is up on the docket is Oh, Taste and See. If you're new around here, you can head over to www.BibleStudyGirl.com. You can type on the magnifying glass in the upper right-hand corner. We'll tap on it and you can type in Oh, Taste and See. It'll pull the blog right up so you guys can follow along, read along, and know what we're talking about. The fun thing about the blog recap episodes is that Bible Study Brother goes first. He tells you what he thought when he read the blog, what he gets out of it. Then I go into detail and let you guys know how I felt when I wrote it, what my heart was, what the intention was, and maybe if I feel differently about it now or not. I don't know. We talk about my present day stance on all these here blogs. So it's been really, really fun for us to go back, recap, and chat it up and talk about the blogs in that way. Side note, this has nothing to do with the blog recap, but I wish you guys could see us today on Zoom because Bible Study Brother and I have on matching outfits. For the first time and I don't know how long. It's refreshing to see. Okay. So back to this here blog recap. I'm gonna let Bible Study Brother take it away. Let me know what your impressions were of the blog, what kind of emotions it elicited in you, what you think of it.
Well, I'll just start with the obvious. It was hilarious because it's something I had never noticed about you. Being a person who is your little brother, so therefore I'm always looking up to my big sister and or around my big sister in terms of what's going on with her. Learn a lot of life lessons from this third parent here. And this blog was a reminder that there are things that you just don't notice all the time. Maybe because you're in your own world, maybe because you're in your own zone, or maybe because you're walking your own walk. But this blog was hilarious because realizing that food is a love language. It just is. It's definitely a love language.
If you listen to this podcast for any length of time, then you know that Bible Study Brother and I and our entire family has a deep, passionate love of food.
Like, maybe my first love. I know that pepperoni pizza was my favorite food for a very long time. So much so that I would eat entire large pepperoni pizzas by myself. Like the family would have something that y'all was sharing. I don't know how we used to do pizzas. Actually, now that I'm thinking about it, because all I remember is that I would get a large pepperoni pizza unto myself. It was probably around the time that you stopped eating pork, which now makes sense.
Yeah, that means you were a teenager.
So yeah,
boy, teenage Bible Study Brother could throw back some food. So get ready when you have a child for their teenage years to be.
Oh yeah, I would eat and I can't do none of that now. Like I'm fat now,
and right? You never gain weight.
I can't eat like that. Never. Like I would eat. I remember there would be days. Just talking about the love of food in this before we get to the spiritual aspect of it, just because it's an opportunity to talk about food. So, and I know I was wrong, but I would eat my mom would go to wherever she'd gone, she'd be in like a McDonald's or something like that, and I would get like a large or supersized at the time back before.
Yeah, I forgot supersized is no longer a thing.
So I would get like a supersized meal or something like that, my grandmother would be like coming in town or something like that, would call and ask me, was I hungry? And I say, mm-hmm.
You glutton.
And I would eat the same, whatever it is she brought, I would eat that too. But I only ate, but then I also thought about it. Like, I only ate like once or twice a day, technically. Unless we were down in the country, in which case I would eat breakfast and whatever else was down there. But I guess the only time to end this food love and get into the spiritual is, I think the only time I've ever, as an adult, eaten the way I used to eat was that one glorious Thanksgiving where me and my sister woke up, ate Thanksgiving food for breakfast, took like about an hour, hour and a half nap, maybe. Ate
maybe
Thanksgiving,
two.
maybe, maybe. Ate more Thanksgiving food for lunch.
Mm-hmm.
Then, of course, but like we were, like it was an extra, like we was eating, like
And it was
not.
crazy.
And it's the only time in my head that I can like vividly remember, like, oh no, this is like the old days, like younger me. Because even big now, it's like, I eat and I might like snack all day, but it's way different. Like she said, young me
And
was
then
a
after
beast.
that, we had our big family get together
Yeah,
where
that's
there was a
yeah,
new food.
new food.
So we ate that too. That was probably the longest Thanksgiving of my life.
Yeah,
It was much. And we should not ever
I
do
feel
that
like we
again.
was hurting. I feel like me and you both. I
We
feel like me and you both was
literally
like, I'm not doing it no more.
right. We literally were hurting and like we need like we haven't had a Thanksgiving like that. We learned.
Yeah, we did. But to give, like, I guess the spiritual aspect of it is just, or the totality of the blog, connecting that. So setting up the love of food is like, I could never even notice that you were moaning while you ate your food because I was too into eating my own food. And I don't know when it started. I don't know how long it had been going on. Maybe your whole life. Like, who
I think it probably
knows?
has been I think it probably had been going on my entire life.
And maybe because my thing was like, I eat. I'm a like, if I'm really eating, I might smack and I'm eating, but I also have big lips, so it's hard. Like, so for the people who are like, "Ugh, I hate these," I eat my sister and my wife. Sometimes I'm like, bro, this is how I eat. Like, I just be eating, and I eat fast. If you just shut up, I'll be
You do eat
done.
fast.
I'll be done before you ever even really have a problem with it. But like, the fact that there are so many things that people will see about you but don't say is crazy because they think you just know.
Right. People just assume that you know. And sometimes I'm gonna let you continue with what you're talking about, but
Mm-hmm.
sometimes there are things about you that it's just innate to who you are. And
Mm-hmm.
so you don't even realize that it's something you do. You
Yeah.
don't.
Like, and even though Bible study girl knows she's petty, maybe she doesn't know how intensely petty she is.
Oh, I know I'm intensely petty. I was intensely petty before we
Oh,
started
she
this
was.
episode. I was sharing an intensely petty moment. And I
She
was like,
was.
you know what I
You
did?
know why? You know what's petty about it, guys? She gave me some wise advice about, like, hey man, I think, with mom, you might want to just be careful. And then immediately she's not careful at all. She's like, pow, 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 petty.
Well, I wasn't being not careful with mom. I was being not careful with you, but it's
Yeah,
something you
I
was
know
gonna
what
find
sound
out
needs to be on
anyway.
this board, and it's gonna be on this board,
Okay.
huh?
Okay. Go back to the spiritual,
Um,
whatever you got out of the
but it's
blog, my
like
friend.
people don't notice things, right? So currently in society, right? And I was talking to Kane about this last night because we were watching this anime about Vikings or whatever, right? And Vikings are as historically just crazy in terms of the things that were going on, in terms of how they would pillage villages,
Mm-hmm.
rape women and all this other stuff. And she was like, why do people feel like, why do people go to these extremes? She said, I forget how she worded it before, but I said the thing that people always say is, like war is war or whatever. And I said there's a difference between why people go to certain extremes. And it was reminiscent of what's going on in America right now and everything else. And I said, when you lead with control, control will make you do anything. When all you want to do is control people. When you're not leading with love, when you're leading with control, you will do whatever because you want to control. Whatever means you have to go to control them, you will do that. And so if you don't notice that that's what you're doing, then you will find ways to scripturally, and I just did quotation marks there,
air quotes,
to you will try and find a way to justify yourself.
Right.
And especially now in this day and age, I think a big conversation about the Roe versus Wade stuff between different spiritual people is about, well, God says not to kill people. And I'm like, yeah, we get that. But if you just standing on that, then you're allowing the people who are leading with control to control the narrative that you're not leading with love, because you care more about the control versus the love. And the thing about telling people things that you see that you're not sure that they see is sometimes you can pull people out of that. You can pull people into different places in their lives because they don't notice until someone says something. And it might make them mad, as you said at the end of the blog. It might make you mad. It might make you upset. But if you're doing it in love and not in petty and not in, some sense of entitlement, like, ooh, and they need to be doing this. Like, hey, I love you. I see that. Hey, do you know that that when you eat, you make a little noise. It can kind of give off something that I don't presume you're trying to give off. And I care, or hey, when y'all come to church, you kind of give off that you don't want people talking to you. And I know that you want to make friends with the church. I know that you want to have conversations or ask deeper questions about different things or whatever it may be. Prime example, in Girl Scout years, there are times where you just got to pull people to the side and tell them about themselves so that way they can know this is not the appropriate way to go about life. And that's just a funny inside joke there. But still, whatever it is, if you do it in love, it should be reciprocated as such. And even if it's not in the moment, as long as you earnestly do it in love. And I mean, like, if you can earnestly say you were doing that so you can try and help that person out, you're not trying to, like I said, control them what you want them to be, then everything I think will be all right. And that's kind of what I got from this blog post.
Okay. I'm going to tell you, this is the first time you guys get to see Sweet Baby on the blog. There's a picture of her. She is the picture for the blog. And I don't know that if I have mentioned Sweet Baby by name at this point in the blog or called her Sweet Baby yet. We'll have to kind of track and see. I don't recall, but this is your first time getting to see Sweet Baby. And so I titled it Old Taste and See because Sweet Baby, I can't remember if she had like a great day at school or whatever, but she's always angling for a treat. And so we went on an ice cream date. Me, her mom, and probably Bible study cousin as well. I feel like she was there too. So we all went to go get ice cream. So the girl's thrilled.
Sure, and while y'all trash, I'm pretty sure I didn't get none, but it's all right.
You were probably at work. You were working at the gym at this time. So yeah, those were working hours for you, my friend. And so while we were there, it really brought to mind. So Sweet Baby's mama has been on the podcast. She's the cousin that really inspired me to share this story about myself. So Bible study brother didn't really get right to it. But the thing is, like when I eat,
I forgot. Sorry.
yeah, he didn't really explain what like the context. So I had gone to this same ice cream place with Sweet Baby's mom, and she got a different kind of ice cream than I got. And she was like, I was like, "Ooh, that looks good." And she said, "Well, I would let you try it, but you be doing all that moaning and stuff when you eat. And so I don't want to hear it. It's gonna make me not want to eat this anymore." And y'all, I could laugh about it now. Anyway, I was like, "What are you talking about?" She was like, "You be moaning and stuff."
Oh, it was a big debate.
It
It
was
was a
like a big
debate.
thing. So we got back to mama's house and I was like, "Hey y'all, Arya's saying this about me. She just be so dramatic." And they was like, "Oh no, you do that." I was like, "No, I don't." And they were
Mama
like,
must have said, because
"No."
I know I was like, I ain't never heard it. Because I know I sat there for a minute and I was like, you do? Like, I don't know, Phil.
I was like, "No, I don't." So anyway, um, long story short, like I literally start calling my friends while we're all together while I'm with my family. And I'm like, "Do I do this?" And one by one, they're like, "Yeah." Like, I thought you knew that. And everybody was really shocked that I had no idea that I was making love to my food. I had no clue. It was like I could not believe I had been going years. And I know one of my friends was like, "Well, you're so loud when you do it. I just assumed you were doing it to try to get a reaction out of us." And like, so I just ignore you, and keep it moving. Y'all, when I say I cried real tears. And everybody was like, "What is wrong with you?" Bible study brother talked about our love for food, and it is like deep. And when I'm
That's deep,
enjoying
deep.
something, I'm just enjoying something. And so it just was flashing through my mind like, you mean to tell me all my life I've been around people moaning and groaning, and like literally nobody has said, "Hey, sis, stop that." Like, you
Like,
loud.
when nobody even like, I'll have what she's having. Like, because you've been mad grinding for your
Right.
entire life, apparently, with no prompting, not on a date, not with nobody. Like, that would prompt me more to be like, oh, I'm having what she's having. What she got? It did anything to me.
I got a commercial or something. So
Like,
y'all mean to tell me I've
bro.
been doing this all my life? And you want to know what's so crazy about it? It's like once she pointed it out to me
Mm-hmm.
when I was eating, I I would catch myself mid moan. Like I had to train myself to not moan when something was good. Like I would be like, "This is great." I would make myself verbally say, "I really like this food. I am enjoying this food." But it took training for me.
Yeah.
If nobody had ever pointed it out to me, I don't know how much longer I would have been going through
Bro, you know
life.
what's funny is like how you ate. We've eaten so many places,
Right.
in like in a lot. Especially, I think like before then, me and your thing, and it's hard to place these timelines because I don't know whether or not we had this thing where we were like looking for new places in Little Rock or whatever, and we would go and find a new place, and there were a couple misses, but for most of the time we was eating something really
Right.
nice, and I'm like, I know that, and there are places that you frequent and would sit down, whether it was with us or by yourself. I'm like, I wonder if folks, like, if there's a waiter or somebody that you're like, man, they be extra nice to me or whatever, or like somebody that eats the same place that you eat that was looking at you like, there go moaning girl again, and I know whatever she
Like
eat,
y'all
I got to
had me.
order that. Like people would like. There's somebody who ordered something just based off the fact that it's got to be good.
It's got to be good because that girl is over there carrying
She
on, going
tearing
to
it up.
town. So, like I said, I cried real tears and I was really sad because I was so embarrassed. Like, I have been going through my life. Like, I'm telling you, I had flashbacks of different, and I talk about it in the blog, different instances where I'm like, oh, it all makes sense now.
She thought people were just being rude
Yeah,
because
just
people were
being extra and
saying,
rude and like, what are you talking about? Like, and so when I think about that, like in a spiritual aspect, like when I wrote the article, and even like when I wrote the blog, and even just like in my life, there are so many things that I do in life that I'm genuinely not aware of. And then when it's called to my attention, I do have the ability to work on it. I But there's also another thing that I recognize in this specific situation is that it's not easy to change something that's inside of you. You have to be very conscious of it. And it takes a lot of time. Now I can eat without having to think, without having to say to myself, like, that it's good. But when I say it literally took me years to get to that point, it literally took me years. And it was a retraining of my mind. It was not an easy thing. So, one of the things I really wanted to highlight that it is important to have people in your life they can point things out to you. And that a lot of times we don't even realize some of the things we're doing, and we're not doing them intentionally. We're not trying to hurt people or offend people. And it also gave me perspective that sometimes the things that people do, they're not being intentional and hurting you. They're not being intentional in getting on your nerves or trying to get a rise out of you. Sometimes they don't know. Now, of course, we do know that a lot of times people can be petty. Me, I can be very petty and like I'm doing it
incredibly.
on purpose to get on your nerves, which is why I I get why my cousin thought I knew it because I am the queen of petty, honey. If I can grind a nerve, I will try to grind it. So it was very, I would say it was a very eye-opening moment for me. And I will also tell you, it gave me compassion for other people that are trying to change something about themselves or trying to, we talk about becoming new creatures in Christ. I'm sure it can happen instantly because he's a God who can do anything. But I think a lot of times we have to have a mindset that we want different and we want to be new. And it takes a renewing of our mind. And how do we do that? We have to be diligent about changing our habits. And I think a lot of times we just want that instant fix and we neglect the fact that we have to be willing to put in work a lot of times. God can do things supernaturally. He can do it instantly. Um, but a lot of time it takes that work for us to get it worked out of us to get to where we want to be, to get to that better place. I think about that with like weight loss. We pray to God, or I personally, let me take we out of it and talk about me, you know, Lord, help me. But then I have to make those decisions every day that honor what I say I want my end result to be. And I think the supernatural in that is that God can give me power to back away from the Oreos or whatever it is I'm trying to eat. But
not the Oreos.
I have, what you say?
I said not the Oreos.
Oreos. But I have to be willing to put in that work and like really be dedicated. So like I said, it gave me compassion towards other people that are trying to do better and trying to be better. I actually was talking to someone last night and he's a super Christian, knows, like I asked him a question and he was reading Bible verses to me. And so I said, I'm going to tell you how I interpret what from the scriptures you just read. This is how I interpret it. Is that what your intent? Is that what you meant? I forgot where I was going with this story. Anyway, go ahead. What were you going to say?
All I was gonna say is what's funny about that is this is so I had two moments that happened yesterday that let me know whose I'm is. So we know that you are Beverly's daughter.
Correct.
That is 100%. much as we know that I'm Boolie's grandson. And
Correct.
she called me yesterday, just check on me or whatever. And I'm trying to remember what it was that she said. That's what it was. So it was this funny little thing, and I said it's just about noticing things and just the way in which things can kind of transpire. And so um we were talking about like taxes and when they raise taxes and stuff. And how, like when inflation and everything goes up, how we don't really have there's not really like a raising or whatever in your pay. And or
Right.
that's what she was talking about. So she made this point, and I was like, I looked over and I was like, this like things that I continuously say to her before I ever knew grandmother shared this opinion. And I'm like, but if you don't know, you don't know, man. There are so many things that you will not notice until you're like changing your perspective or trying to notice things outside of yourself. Help people, y'all. Help people spiritually, because it's very hard to you don't know everything about yourself. You think you do, but there's only but so much that you know if you're not trying to learn yourself better. This is evident in the fact that relationships, a lot of y'all don't know who you are before you go into a relationship, and then you end up becoming your relationship. Work wise, a lot of you don't know what your career is going to be or what you want it to be, and you don't know until you either get into a job or start looking at your hobbies or stop thinking about something that is a gift from God as a hobby and energize your career. And it's a rough thing spiritually when you're unaware. So we
Right.
have to help each other.
Now, ultimately, I know the Holy Spirit can reveal things to us and bring it to our attention and say, hey, girl, this is what you need to work on. I've heard people say this before, and I know it to be true that the things that you are praying for God to help you with, like let's say you're praying for patience, well, He's going to put you in situations where your patience is tested. You
Mm-hmm.
don't get paid. He's not just going to be like, bam, patience. He puts you in situations where your patience is tested. That's how your patience grows. You get opportunities to work that out. So I think it's important for us to be mindful of that as well. We are all working out our salvation at our own paces. Some of us more aggressively than others, some slow and steady. But the point is that we're all working out our salvation. So I think it's important for us to be kind to others, to give grace when at all possible, and ultimately, really to be kind to ourselves. Because I cried so much when I found this out because I am the biggest critic of myself. And I could not, my therapist tells me I'm very self aware. So I could not believe that this self aware young lady was walking around in public embarrassing herself. So I think it's important to not only be self-aware, but to be able to receive criticism from others, or I don't even know if criticism is the right word, but just like, hey, I'm not sure if you're aware of this, but this is going on. So um it's something to always keep in mind and to always um have on hand. As you can tell, it's been a minute since I've been podcasting, since my voice has come back. So I have to get back into the flow of things. But I'm thankful and so grateful that you guys were willing to listen to us chit chat about food and how the food of life changes us. I'm laughing because I'm looking at Bible study brother in the video. Hey girl, hey, how you doing? And it's hard for me to be. So what I was gonna say is thank you guys so much for listening to Old Taste and See. We're really, really grateful that you were here for this blog recap, that you guys were engaged. And I pray that whatever you taste and see in your life, that you're able to change it for the better if it's something bad, or even if it's something positive, that you're able to keep it going and that you don't get discouraged. Um, that's all I got. I don't have a jazzy close.
Well, remember that there are blog posts every day over at BibleStudyGirl.com. I'm gonna keep saying it until it happens. Um, so and
Speaking
even
in
in that,
faith.
you got to. I'm always gonna speak in faith, and I see things that you don't see. So I'm letting you know now. I see blog posts every day over at
All right.
BibleStudyGirl.com. You can hit us up on the socials at Bible Study Girl. Oh, good Lord. I don't know which one I start with. Bible Study Girl, the number 2 on Twitter. Underscore Bible Study
Yes,
Girl
that's the one
on
you start with. See,
Instagram.
we're both rusty and
Yeah.
crusty.
Underscore Bible Study Girl on the gram. Bible Study Girl on Facebook. Make sure you hit the like so that way you can get notified for every time that the podcast drops. It does drop on Fridays, early in the morning.
Saturday mornings at midnight,
Oh, Saturday
my
mornings at
friend.
midnight. There you go. Late Friday.
Yeah.
Very, very late Friday.
Late
So late
Friday.
Friday, it's the next day.
Yeah.
But go and check that out. Hit up our email if you have any prayer requests for us to pray for you and whatever it is you're going through at BibleStudyGirl2019 at gmail.com. And as always, remember that it's not the food that preaches. It's not the enjoyment of food that preaches, but we preach.
And until we meet again, guys, keep preaching.